Major General retired Leonardo DINU, member of the Scientific Council of the New Strategy Center, and I have the privilege today to chair the 8th panel of the debates dedicated to the reconstruction of Ukraine, namely how Romania should respond to the security challenges in the Black Sea in the context of Russia's war in Ukraine. In my opinion, this is an interesting and provocative topic, considering that the reconstruction of Ukraine cannot take place without a secure environment in the Black Sea region, including a strong defense and deterrence posture against Russian Federation interventionist military posture against the states in the region that choose the path of democracy, respectively against the entire Euro-Atlantic democratic establishments, Romania included. So, for such interesting topic, I have the honor to introduce to you a distinguished speaker, very knowledgeable about the measures taken by Romania to strengthen its defense capacity, Major General Remus BONDOR, Acting Deputy Chief of Staff for Operations and Training. At the base of its career, he is an air defense missiles and artillery officer with many years of experience in commanding battalion and brigade level units in the field of training and operations, and leading tactical staffs up to the strategic level as Chief of the Strategic Planning Directorate. He is also an international leading experience, being Director of Management to Joint Force Command in Naples, Italy. General BONDOR, welcome to our conference. We are very glad you took the time to be with us. Before starting our dialogue, I would like to ask you to briefly present to us which are the main areas of competence of your current position within the Romanian Defense Staff, since a large part of those present in the room do not know about the military system.
Thank you, General, and thank you for these questions. So I think we have 1.5 hours. I will stop when I finish this answer and everything is done with the panel. It's just a joke. So as Deputy for Operations and Training of the Chief of Defense, in this capacity, I'm part of the command group, together with the Deputy Chief of Defense, with the Deputy for Resources, with the Deputy, with the Director of Intelligence Directorate, and with the Director of the Communications and Information Technology Directorate, also with the Director of Staff. This command group is the main tool of the Chief of Defense, and it's we assist him, we conciliate him, and we help him to make sound decision in all the issues, all the problems that comes in face of him. We all work for the Chief of Defense, and in my capacity, I have under my command 3 directorates: the Operation Directorate, the Strategic Planning Directorate, and the Training and Doctrine Directorate. So starting from building up strategic plans, going through capability planning, force planning, medium-term and long-term operations, forces that are deployed in missions and operations abroad, and training those forces to meet the standards in order to be able to respond to any threat. In fact, myself, I'm just a facilitator helping my team, and the team helps me, as I mentioned, to help the Chief of Defense to make sound decisions. So it's a team of teams working together, moving from strategic objectives and presenting the Chief of Defense with ways and with the support of resources that provides us the means to attain the objectives at strategic level.
Thank you, General Bondor. I already told you that it's the most knowledgeable person in the defense staff. We can discuss about how Romania should respond to the security challenges in the Black Sea in the context of Russia's war in Ukraine. I'd like to start making a review what happened right after Crimea invasion in 2014. Russia has continuously developed a diverse range of hybrid tools to maintain a state of insecurity and to extend its control from Black Sea to the Balkans towards Central and Western European countries. During this time, Moscow weaponized especially the political, economic, energy, social, informational, interethnic, and confessional domains. Moreover, Russia has learned and improved the use of conventional forces, together with paramilitary forces and semi-private companies, you know very well, Wagner Group, to provide intelligence gathering, political influence, clandestine operations, and military support for local forces. Thus, the Black Sea region became a Russian laboratory for testing and deployment a new generation warfare, or in Western terms, hybrid war, prepared by the Chief of General Staff, General Gerasimov, in 2013, and fully applied in the annexation operations of Crimea and Eastern Ukraine in 2014. We know very well what happened after that. So in this context, I would like to ask you, which were the main measures that the Romanian army took between 2014 and 2022 in terms of doctrine, operation, training, and military equipment endowment to respond to the new challenges to Romanian national defense? Why I'm asking that? In order to review that we started to improve our defense capabilities since Crimea invasion in 2014.
There are 8 years.
8 years,
so,
yes.
A long time, and every year had its own measures in evolution. So if we look at what happened in 2014, I think the most important thing is that Romania stressed continuously before 2014 in all the fora that Russia is a threat. We saw Russia mentioned as a threat several years after. So the invasion of Crimea took everybody by surprise. This was, I think, one of the strategic shocks with no, let's say, foreseen responses. And I'm talking about international organization or alliance or nations. We were took by surprise, even though, as I mentioned, Romania mentioned several times that Russia is a threat. It continues to be for Romania the main military threat. And I will mention later on probably that geography matters. Russia is geographically in the vicinity of the Black Sea. It's a riparian state to the Black Sea. 2014, Romania immediately started to move into strategic objectives. First of all, to improve our capacity and to develop capability able to respond to a military threat. That went into building up interoperability with NATO structures, building up in technical interoperability, acquiring and starting endowment programs, and not in the last to improve our infrastructure, military infrastructure. I will go through them, but without mention dates and so on. First of all, Romania took bold decision to build up on its territory NATO HQs, part of the NATO force structures, and we started with the NATO Integration Force Unit, designed to streamline the flow of forces into Romania, and then the multinational division Southeast, later on the multinational brigade Southeast, and then the multinational corps Southeast. So we have a command and control structure at land, in land domain, able to conduct NATO operations within this region. Meantime, the endowment program started to counter what Russia managed to build in Crimea, an anti-access area denial bubble, in a way connected with the one that is in Syria, in Tartus, and with the one in Kaliningrad. And we've started endowment programs for long-range artillery to include HIMARS, and then fifth-generation aircraft, F-16s, and then long-range and ballistic missile-capable air defense systems. Also, we've started to change the equipment, the armored personnel carriers, and we acquired Piranha 5. Also, we've moved into modernization of our communication and information systems and acquiring new systems, intelligence, reconnaissance, assets into EMINT and also into SIGINT. So Romania moved forward step by step in order to be able to respond to this threat. How we build up our interoperability, so the number of exercises both on Romanian soil, NATO or with our partners and allies increased both in number and in the volume. The participation of Romanian armed forces into this type of exercises abroad also increased. And if I remember, I want to mention the Sabre Guardian exercise, which is a United States Army Europe-led exercise. And last year we had 13 nations with 14,000 troops exercising this year in Romania. The participation of Romanian armed forces in exercises abroad in NATO format or bilateral or also in multilateral format. So it was an increase in training. Also, the doctrinal process moved fast forward in order to align our doctrines. And all of these, so human, technical, and doctrinal, all of these are part of interoperability to allow us to fight together, to know each other before we need each other. Within the process, I think the acceleration was more tangible in the last, let's say, 4 years. And also, we were supported by the government with the allocation of 2% of the GDP, and we've used between 20 to 25% of the GDP for the endowment programs. Starting from this year, Romanian Armed Forces, the Ministry of Defense, have 2.5% of the GDP, and we have 35% of this 2.5 dedicated for the endowment program. So I think Romania absorbed the shock of the invasion in Ukraine more easy than we would have been expected, because we've started to prepare way before, and I think we were also expecting the use of military instrument of power by Russia, and this is written in our strategic defense analysis and is written in our national defense strategy. So we foreseen that Russia will use the military instrument of power to fulfill their political interests.
Thank you, General, for reviewing all the measures taken in the fields of doctrinal, operational, endowment programs. I fully agree with you that we have started to review all the defense capabilities since 2014. But you mentioned about NATO and EU, and in my opinion, when I say we, I mean also NATO and EU. We have been at war since 2014, but it's my personal view. But at the beginning, NATO and EU treated this endeavor, Russian endeavor, to occupy illegally Crimea with great tolerance, and much later, and step by step, comprehensive packages of assurance and adaptation measures were taken as part of the baseline of the alliance deterrence and defense posture. In this context, I would like to ask you to review a little bit the measures taken for Romania in the NATO allied context to contest, deter and defend against alliance's main threat derived from Russia's aggressions against Ukraine.
So I can detail from my position as Director of Management with Joint Force Command Naples. So I was in Naples when the deployment of forces, of Russian forces, happened around Ukraine. So I saw live how they build up their military power there, and I saw how immediately everything changed within the NATO command structure. So I think the most important thing that have to be mentioned is the approval of the family of plans. There is a family of plans for the first time after the Cold War, when NATO have a family of plans build up at strategic level and then at operational level regionally and then functionally to cover the functions, and I'm talking about domain supporting plans that are in place, that are approved and that have to become executable. And there are several criteria for the executability. I'm talking about forces, I'm talking about command and control, I'm talking about authorizations that are very important to put in practice there. In Romania, first of all, it was an increase of vigilance activities and enhanced vigilance activities to include the deployment of supplementary ISR assets to have an unblinking eye over the Black Sea. And I want to mention that Black Sea now is part of Russian joint operation area. So from the Black Sea, Russia attacks Ukraine, launching cruise missiles, and this is something that have to be taken into consideration. So we have a piece of the Black Sea that is not peaceful. It's a part of a joint operation area, and this led NATO to take the measures that are necessary. As you mentioned, first of all, to contest, that means to push back, then to deter, if necessary, to defend. This moves into the plan, and it is not the environment to discuss about the plans. What I can tell you is that now we have in place these plans, and they are ready. Within the measures taken, the first and most important was a sort of bring the balance to the eastern flank, called by NATO, for us is the front, with the development of the new 4 battle groups, one hosted by Romania, one in Hungary, one in Slovakia, and one in Bulgaria. In Romania, the battle group deployed initially as part of the Very High Readiness Joint Task Force from the NATO plans. It is for the first time when VJTF deployed in an operational context, and then it transits into the Forward Land Forces battle group with the task to increase on order to a brigade level. So the battle group is now in Romania with France as a framework nation. We have also Luxembourg, Belgium, and it was Netherlands, and soon Spain and Slovenia will join this battle group. We have also deployed in Romania detachments from Poland within the multinational brigade Southeast, from Portugal, the same brigade, and from North Macedonia. Enhanced vigilance activities through enhanced air policing. It is another important means of NATO to deter and, if necessary, to defend. And the Turkish detachment is now performing this mission in Romania with their F-16s. We have also, together with them, German airplanes. So it is a continuous rotation of forces on Romanian soil in order, first of all, to reassure Romania about the commitment of the collective defense, and then to first improve the common operational picture about what is going on, and second, to be able to transition very fast from deter to defend if necessary. So all of these measures are in the context of the continuous request from Romania for a balanced approach towards Russia on the eastern front, from the north down to the Black Sea, and I think we face now a real equilibrium in this. Moreover, we have the US presence here, and tomorrow we will see the second change of command between the 10th Mountain Division and the 82nd Airborne Division. There is a brigade from the 101st Airborne Division in Romania. We have also air defense systems from France here, and we are looking for a continuous presence. And in this respect, Romania tries to act as a host nation that provides whatever is necessary in accordance with Memorandum of Understanding and with the principle of NATO that the costs fall where they are. So it's a sort of there are arrangements, but the logistics and the support of the forces deployed belongs to the nation sending the troops here.
Thank you very much. Very interesting. I would like to underline and to ask you very shortly to underline this. So, because Romania advocated at Brussels many times with, to have a balanced approach from Baltic Sea in the northern flank and up to the Black Sea in the southern flank. In your personal opinion, do you think now there is a unitary approach from Kola Peninsula, from the northern Baltic Sea up to the Black Sea, or there is a slightly difference between northern flank and southern flank from NATO point of view?
I think from NATO point of view there is no difference, but again let's take into consideration that geography matters. So it's a difference between the Baltic Sea and the Black Sea. It's a difference between the East Med and the Central Mediterranean area. It's a difference between the High North and the Juk Gap. So every geographic area needs a different approach, and this approach comes from decisions that are made in the Atlantic Council. So the NAC is the one taking the decision, and we as soldiers, we put them in practice. So SACEUR gives the best military advice. The military committee provides the best military advice, but the permanent representatives are those that, and the heads of state through the summit, they are the ones that build up strategic concepts. And so from my perspective now, from the point of view of air and land, yes, there is a balance, but due to the specificity of the Black Sea, in the maritime domain, there is a lack of capabilities here, and NATO took in consideration this.
Thank you. It was worth to mention this because it's very important. I would like to move on and to start discussing what happened after the morning of February 24, 2022, when Russian military forces already massed in Belarus on the entire border with Ukraine and Crimea initiated so-called military special operation. What should have been a strategic surprise attack. Most likely, Moscow's political goal would have been to quickly capture the capital Kyiv, assuming a minimal resistance from the Ukrainian armed forces. But just after 48 hours, President Putin and his military strategists realized that the campaign plan is not working and Russian forces are facing an incredible resistance and determination far greater than expected of both Ukrainian military and civilian population in the towns of Chernigov, Sumy, Kharkov, near to the border. What was planned as a blitzkrieg soon turned into a siege position war in northern and northeastern Ukraine. But in the first decade of June 2023, Ukraine launched a military counteroffensive against Russian forces invading its national territory. The offensive plan, originally set for spring, was postponed until early summer due to the bad weather and delayed deliveries of weapons and ammunition from the West. Meanwhile, Russia has strengthened its defensive position with extensive engineering, trenching, mining, and terrain fortification deep within its own defenses. With the Ukrainian armed forces facing fierce armed resistance that has slowed their intended offensive pace and caused them human and technical losses. In my opinion, at this moment, the war between Ukraine and Russia can be defined as a positional one of high intensity along the entire length of the contact line with no significant changes and tactical successes only, but without having a strategic impact of none of the parties. My question is, the security of the Black Sea region depends on developments on the Ukrainian front. What are the scenarios we could face from the most likely to the most dangerous, from Romanian defense point of view? Very hard question.
Yeah, that's a difficult question. So I think there is. I can say that most likely can be the most dangerous. So, but I'm an operation and planning officer, so I would like to say that for us, hope is not an assumption, and we've never planned with an assumption based on hope. I can say that I cannot assess the scenarios, but I can tell you that for Romania, the most favorable, and which is the one everybody mentioned, even in the previous panels here, is that the one where Ukraine managed to free all their territory, and Russia moves back, defeated. But from this scenario, moving into a frozen conflict type scenario, and in the worst case with soldiers, troops on our borders, the evolution of the war is something that can be barely predicted. So there are so many factors that are in motion that it's almost impossible to predict. And a scenario as a snapshot, I think it's a wrong approach. A scenario is a movement of things, humans, decisions, international actors, and everything is in motion, and it can move from one side to another in a very fast evolution. So I would not predict which is the most likely, which is the most dangerous. As I mentioned, I can say that is the one that I wish as a person, and it's the one that I do not want as a person. But again.
Thank you for your diplomatic answer. Yes, the main purpose of the question was not to assess the scenario. So I like to underline that the most favorable is Ukraine to win the war, and this this conference is looking for to continue to support Ukraine in order to win the war. And for this, Romania plays a very important role, supporting Ukraine through many domains. But also there is very necessary, I will underline, a cohesion and unitary approach from both organizations, NATO and the European Union. And we have to advocate and to be a catalyzer for this cohesion and unity in in NATO especially, and European Union. We have only 5 minutes. I have more questions. I would like to ask you only one, which is very much of interest. So Romania possesses the second largest military on NATO eastern flank. In response to the 2014, as you mentioned, 2014 Russian occupation of Crimea. Romania has undertaken a number of projects to modernize its military capabilities. However, the modernization of the Romanian armed forces has faced significant challenges, characterized by prolonged negotiations and delayed delivery schedules. Among the crucial acquisitions planned for the Romanian Navy were 4 corvettes, for which a French-Romanian association headed by Naval Group emerged as a contract winner in 2019. We are in 2023. So after 4 years of negotiations, the program is scrapped. What you can tell us about this, let's say, not problems, issues, because it's not the fault of Romanian National Defense or defense staff. But how Romania will compensate for its insufficient naval capabilities in the face of Russia aggression?
So first of all, everybody working in the endowment processes knows that a program can start and then can be stopped due to different reasons. One is the legislation, the other one is the misunderstanding, the other one. So there are a lot of reasons that a program can stop. So that happened with the Corvette program. The program had stopped. But meantime, previously, Romania engaged into a new program to build up naval strike missiles capability, land-based or ship-based, modernizing the frigates with the new naval strike missiles, and also 3 missile carrier boats. So I think this is one of the first steps to fill in a gap of this. Meantime, there are other programs ongoing, and I'm talking about the program of the submarines, the program of modernization of the frigates, and the acquisition of the maritime mine capabilities, mine counter capabilities. So I think we are on a good track in the naval domain. Also, I want to mention that together with Turkey and Bulgaria, we are working together to build up a Black Sea maritime capability force, able to, first of all, to monitor the situation of the drifting mine, which is very dangerous for the freedom of navigation, and then after the war ends, to help the Ukrainians to clear their if they will be part of this, and Georgia also as partner nations to be part of this initiative. And very soon, I think in the first half of January, this capability will have a formal document signed by the Ministries of Defense, and then they will move into action. This is not replacing the standing naval forces from NATO, but it's a complementary asset and capability showing the willingness of the cooperation of the riparian state in solving problems within the regional context. Meantime, having our, as I mentioned, the five generation multi-role aircraft, those can be used also as capabilities against naval. Moving into NATO context, within broader NATO plan, using the strike capabilities and long-range missiles from NATO, it's another mean to complete the gap. But I want to finish this going into another domain and saying again that geography matters. Doesn't matter the outcome of this war, Russia will remain within the geography. The instability into the Western Balkans still remains, and I want to mention that Romania is very, very careful looking at the Western Balkans, and we are involved into the missions and operations both in Bosnia and in Kosovo in order to have a peaceful environment in that area. And also, I think we need to carefully look at the terrorist threat, which is growing, and all of you have seen that many states in Europe raised their terrorist alert states because of the threat of the terrorism. We need to look at the global south, and Romania is present in the EU mission in Africa, having command of the mission in the Republic of Central Africa, because the global south can become very fast an area of instability and generating uncontrolled migration with termination into increasing the terrorism threat. So overall, I think Romania is a steadfast ally for NATO. It's a good neighbor, and it works close with the neighbors. We are also looking to our more vulnerable partners, and I'm talking about Republic of Moldova and Georgia, helping them to build up their capacity of defense. And also we are looking more than in our region in order to contribute to the peace and security.
Thank you very much for your in-depth and comprehensive answer. I'm so glad you touched upon cooperation among three NATO riparian states of the Black Sea. So the cooperation among these, Romania, Bulgaria, and Turkey is very important as NATO members. And I'm so glad to hear that cooperation started to work in the Black Sea. Also have two PFP members, Republic of Moldova and Georgia, have to push also and to build their defense capabilities. So it was one of my questions. I don't want to conclude the panel without giving the audience the chance to ask only one question. Please.
Hello, I'm Barbara Gokia. I'm from New York City, from the United States, and I know you don't have a magic ball, and I understand that there are things that you cannot tell us. But knowing what you know, how do you see Vladimir Putin losing this war? Do you think it's possible that he would accept defeat?
So thank you for mentioning that crystal ball, because sometimes my chief of defense says, this is the guy with the crystal ball. I'm not. I think the theory of victory for Vladimir Putin is very difficult to assess. If I would have to assess him from a strategist, how strategy he works, I would say it's a combination between Jomini, that looks with geography, and Kautilya, which teaches his king to poison, kill, and said, okay, my neighbor is my friend, and my neighbor is my enemy until becomes my neighbor. So something like this. But what I can tell you is that from my personal assessment, I think his decision to attack was the worst in his career as the president of Russia. Because in 2022, the status quo he had was the best in the history of Russia. Europe was dependent on the resources from Russia. He was able to build up his military capability with our money, paying him for gas, and he, through the conflict in Donbass and with the illegal occupation of Crimea, stopped the accession of Ukraine in NATO and EU. The same with Transnistria, the same with Georgia, the same maintaining the conflict in the Nagorno-Karabakh. So I think he had a good status quo, but I think he was bad advised. Again, is my perspective, he assumed that the Ukrainians will receive the Russian troops with Russian flags and they will say, okay, we are Russians. This doesn't happen. So the Ukrainian willingness to defend their country is something that have to be learned for the history, and their determination and resolution and resilience is also something that we need to learn of. And I don't think he has a theory of victory, because usually when you go to war, you need to have a political end state and a military end state. If we remember in December, his political end state was to move NATO within the borders of 97. That was one. And to put all those countries into his sphere of influence. I think it was an unrealistic objective, strategically and politically. And when he attacked, his military objective was again to conquer Kiev in a couple of days. I think it was again a bad decision to go there. But if you ask me how Putin can lose, he can lose through a coordinated international continuation of this coordinated political rejection of Russia and he as a person, and also moving into probably into the moment when the Russians will be fed up enough of losing their children in a war that has no political objective. So, you know, from the ancient writers, a country goes to war from 3 reasons. It's honor, interest, and fear. I cannot find why Russia moved into the war. So no interest because, as I mentioned, the status quo was in favor. To fear of Ukraine, I don't think. So honor, yes, this can be a reason because studying a little bit the history of Russia, we realize that whenever a Tsar is weak, is immediately eliminated. Whenever he's strong, even though he's a killer or a madman, is raised in the history of Russians. And this is something that we need to understand. That's the Russian culture. That's a different way of thinking. I don't know if I answered, but I cannot see a theory of victory. Usually you build up a theory of victory, but I could not grasp that from his actions.
Thank you for your answers. Thank you for the question. Actually, I have the same opinion. He didn't state which are political objectives, neither nor the military objectives. He started actually an endeavor, a military endeavor, without having clear objectives. He hoped that Ukrainians will surrender when they will see the truth. But I know very well, I've worked with Ukrainians before, and I know they were prepared for this. With this, I would like to conclude the panel, thanking very much General Bondor for your presentations. So they were very, very, very interesting, and thank you, because we had to mention what Romania did since 2014 up to now, and is continuing to do. And I would like to mention that two other panels will continue, panel 9A and panel 9B. Here will be cross-border cooperation, a catalytic factor for Ukraine reconstruction process, chaired by Mr. Ion Ionita, very well-known journalist, senior editor Adevărul and editor-in-chief Historia. And the second one in the other room will be Black Sea Reserves, Current Challenges, Future Developments, chaired by Mr. Bogdan Bernagă, senior associate expert in New Strategy Center. I would like to thank you all for participation, and especially General Bondor for his thoughts. Thank you very much.